Well, let me follow up with this quote from Neil Ferguson, who wrote, he was in that chair not too long ago talking about his new book, Civilization. He says, the Chinese are happy to trade infrastructure investment for access to Africa's mineral wealth, regardless of whether they're doing business with military dictators, corrupt kleptocrats, or senile autocrats, or all three. Just when Western government and non-government agencies are at least beginning to demand improvements in African governance as a condition for aid, they find themselves undercut by a nascent Chinese empire. Do you agree with him?
I would not entirely agree with that, because I think we need to look at who is talking. The reality is that Africa has suffered greatly in the hands of its colonial masters. What we face today is a new Europe in Africa, and that's China. Whether it's Europe or America or China, there's no question in the fact that Africa has something to offer which the rest of the world is interested in. The question is, how do we do the business? What people need to understand is that the Chinese have understood something about business in Africa. The Chinese do business by barter. They are willing to pay in kind or to be paid in kind as well.
Whereas Western governments are less interested in that, or Western companies.
Yes. So whatever happens, with China, and I think the jury is still out on that one, however that relationship between China and Africa works out, the reality is it's going to be a situation that we have to watch very closely. It's going to be a pattern that we're going to have to follow to scrutinize very, very closely. But, it will not probably be different from what we saw Europe doing in Africa.
No, I hear you. I hear
decades
you.
ago.
But hopefully we're not going to live by the standards of 100 years ago when King Leopold was cutting people's limbs off. I mean, we're hopefully more civilized than that today. But you're a man of faith, and I wonder whether it disturbs you that China is happy to do business with any government in Africa, and they don't care how corrupt or evil or vicious to their own people these governments are.
Well, that disturbs me. It disturbs me, and I think that needs to be scrutinized, that needs to be flagged. But the reality is there is some benefit that African governments or people that accrues to them from this relationship. So the question is not simply cutting those links, but actually seeing how we can hold some of these investors more accountable and more responsible for what they do in Africa. But certainly, there is some benefit there that we need to pay attention to.
Support Ontario's public television. Donate at tvo.org.